Have you ever been to a place that you just don't like? Maybe you've got a reason why you don't like it, or maybe you haven't got a reason, you just don't like it and you don't know why. Anyway, my such place is Jalal-Abad, here in Kyrgyzstan, a city, fair-sized city actually by Kyrgyz standards, and I came about 2 years ago and I just didn't like it at all. Now, that's unusual for me. Normally I like pretty much everywhere in Kyrgyzstan, but Jalal-Abad, it just didn't do it for me. However, I'm in a forgiving mood, so I'm going to give Jalal-Abad a second chance. So we've got a bit of good old-fashioned industry there, but I don't mind that. Okay, it's not a thing of beauty, but at least it's something to look at, so that's fine. Last time I was here, I only actually discovered one cool thing, and that was in this park here. So hopefully it's still there. I've just come across something of potential here. Let's have a little look upstairs, shall we? Actually, mate, that two cool things. Got a little stand up here at the back, just overlooking a short, I don't know, 5-a-side pitch or maybe tennis court. It's a bit unusual. There's a little alleyway here of 5 communist giants. Lenin we know very well already, and there's 4 more down there. This is an interesting one of Kirov, who was assassinated in the mid-30s at the time of real political turmoil in the USSR. And if you look carefully at his eyes, it's almost as if he's looking to the side over his shoulder. Perhaps he was expecting it. Interesting to see Jasinski, head of the secret police, because in most other ex-communist states the secret police is quite hated and they don't have statues, but in Russia, Belarus, maybe Kazakhstan, and certainly here in Kyrgyzstan, you can still find statues of, or busts in this case, of Jasinski. You might remember we saw a statue of him in one of the other videos I did in Bishkek. This is Ordzhonikidze, one of Stalin's henchmen from the 1930s. He also died in the 30s, but he wasn't murdered. He actually took his own life. It was a terrible time in the 1930s in Russia. This is probably the most interesting. This is of Voroshilov. Now, some of you might have seen him before if you saw my video about the Soviet sanatoriums, and I think the statue is absolutely identical. We'll have to do a comparison. Once upon a time there would have been somewhere around the city, and then after the fall of the USSR they collected them up and put them in here. In many places they collected them up and just got rid of them. They disappeared forever, but in Kyrgyzstan they're not so keen to wash out their history, so they're kind of relaxed about it, so they don't mind having them still on display, but perhaps in less prominent places than they were before. This must be the original entrance to the park. Probably from the 60s, I'd have thought, something like that. I remember last time I was here 2 years ago, I got an ice cream at the place behind me. There was a big queue and I thought, wow, must be good if people are queuing. And 2 years on, it's still there, people are still buying ice cream, and I couldn't resist. That was a bit embarrassing. I just got talking to a couple of 10-year-old girls, and one of them, the chattier one, when I told her I was from England, didn't believe it because she thought I looked too poor. So, a bit embarrassing. It might be something to do with the fact as well that after the trek we had yesterday, those things I wore on my feet, they killed the back of my heels, and my heels are really sore and raw, so to stop the shoes rubbing against them I decided not to wear the shoes today, and I've just been wearing some flip-flop things that I found in the hotel, so maybe that's the reason why. Maybe they thought I couldn't afford a pair of shoes. I'm actually walking along the very main street of the city, and you know, in most parts of the world if even if the city's not that great or if it's a bit rough, that at least try to make the effort on the main street, the principal street of the city, but seemingly not in Jalal-Abad. Just a truly awful main street. You've got these narrow little streets. Fortunately, it's a quiet day today. And then you've got these bars everywhere. You've got bars here, then you've got another bars in the middle of the road, and then bars outside as well. It's almost like walking in an open-air prison. You see, a nice, pretty town, it certainly is not. This is the main street, don't forget. Another city, another Soviet hotel. It's not deliberate. We're just driving along looking for somewhere to stay because we don't pre-book anything. And then we just came across this. Saw a sign for a hotel and so came in. And again, like so many Soviet hotels, it does the job. It's not great, but it's not absolutely terrible either, if you've got realistic expectations. I like the fact they've kept it consistent. It looks pretty awful from the front and awful from the back as well. So I came back again to this town to see if there's been any improvement after 2 years. I gave it a second chance, but I'm afraid to say Jalal-Abad, you just don't do it for me.